All right, let's talk about ChatGPT. It's everywhere, right? But what's really going on behind the scenes? Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and understand the machine that's writing all those words.
You know that feeling? You type in some super complicated question, and boom, in seconds, you get this, well, perfect answer. It's wild. It feels like you're talking to a real thinking being, almost like magic. But is it? Well, here's the spoiler. It's not magic, not even close. It's math. Yep, just incredibly complex, mind-bogglingly huge math. And we're about to break down exactly what that means. So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll decode what GPT even stands for. Then, we'll dive into its prediction engine and its training. We'll also look at the good and the bad, the power and the pitfalls. And we'll wrap up by looking at what it means to have an AI as a coworker. Sound good? Let's jump in. Okay, section 1. Let's start with the name, GPT. It's not just a random string of letters. Turns out, the name itself is actually the perfect cheat sheet for understanding how this whole thing works. G stands for generative. This is huge. It means it's creating new content from scratch, not just finding and pasting something from Wikipedia. P is for pre-trained. Think of it like this. It's already done its homework. It read a huge chunk of the internet to learn the patterns of how we talk. And finally, T is for transformer. And honestly, this T is the secret sauce.
So let's zoom in on that T, the transformer. This is the real game changer. See, older AI models would read a sentence one word at a time. But if transformer, it looks at the whole sentence at once. It uses something called an attention mechanism to figure out which words are most important to each other. So if you say, the robot picked up the ball because it was heavy, the transformer knows it is the ball, not the robot. That's how it gets context. And getting context right is everything.
Okay, so we know what the name means. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does it actually go from your question to its answer? What's the process?
It's basically a 4-step process. Step 1, your question gets chopped up into little pieces called tokens. Think of them like word fragments or Lego bricks. Step 2, each of those tokens gets turned into a long string of numbers, a vector. This is where words become math. Step 3, the model looks at all those numbers and calculates, okay, what's the most probable next token? And finally, step 4, it picks that token, adds it to the sentence, and then it does the whole thing over again, one piece at a time.
And what's so cool about turning words into numbers is that it creates this giant invisible map, a meaning space. On this map, words with similar meanings are neighbors. So the number version of bicycle is going to be really close to wheel, but super far away from, say, philosophy. The AI doesn't understand what a bicycle is, but it knows from the math that these concepts are related.
And this right here, this is probably the single most important thing to get. ChatGPT isn't thinking. It doesn't have beliefs or understanding like we do. It's a prediction machine, playing a very high-stakes game of what word comes next. When you type the capital of France is, it's just calculating that, statistically, the token Paris is the most likely thing to follow that sequence. That's it. It's all just probability.
So, you might be wondering, how in the world does it get so good at predicting the next word? Well, that all comes down to its training. How it goes from being a raw engine to that helpful assistant we're all talking to.
The training is a 3-part journey. First, they unleash the model on a massive chunk of the internet and just tell it to learn. It soaks up grammar, facts, and how sentences are built. But that only makes it good at finishing sentences, not at being helpful. So then comes step 2, fine-tuning. Here, actual humans have conversations with it, showing it what a good answer looks like. And finally, step 3, and this is crucial, is reinforcement learning. Humans get shown a bunch of AI-generated answers, and they rank them from best to worst. This teaches the model what we find helpful, safe, and true.
And when we talk about training, the scale is just mind-blowing. The GPT-3 model has something like 175 times billion parameters. You can think of a parameter as a tiny little knob. During training, every single one of those 175 billion knobs is tweaked and adjusted over and over to get better at predicting the next word. That's the sheer complexity we're dealing with. Now, all of that training creates a tool with some truly incredible powers. But, and this is a big but, it also leads to some pretty serious pitfalls we absolutely need to be aware of. Let's start with the good stuff, the superpowers. For you coders, it's an amazing debugging partner. If you're swamped with reading, it can be your research assistant, summarizing giant documents in seconds.
Stuck on an idea? It's an instant brainstorming partner. And maybe best of all, it can be your own personal tutor, explaining something complex over and over again until you get it.
But on the flip side, we have to talk about the biggest weakness, and that's something called hallucination. This is when the AI confidently gives you an answer that sounds totally legit, is written beautifully, and is completely 100% made up. It's not lying, it's just predicting the next word in a sequence that happens to be false.
And please, don't think this is a small bug. It's a serious problem. Get this, one study had an AI generate medical references and found that up to 47% of them, almost half, were just fabricated. The AI knew what a citation should look like, so it made one up. This is exactly why you can't just blindly trust what it tells you, especially for important stuff.
So why does this happen? It goes back to its core design. ChatGPT is optimized for one thing: plausibility. It's built to generate text that sounds right. It is not optimized for truth. It doesn't have a built-in fact checker. That's what a search engine does. Remember, it's a word predictor, not a truth engine.
And there are other big limitations to remember. First, its knowledge has a cutoff date. It doesn't know anything that happened after its training data was collected. Second, and this is really important, it inherits all the biases that were present in that massive pile of internet text it was trained on. It's a reflection of our own messy, biased world.
Okay, so we've got these amazing powers and these serious pitfalls. What does this all mean for us? For our jobs? Well, it looks like we're all getting a new AI coworker.
And to really get its place in our toolkit, it helps to compare it to things we already use. A search engine retrieves information. It gives you a list of links. A database just stores it. You get out exactly what you put in. But an LLM, like ChatGPT, it synthesizes. It takes a bunch of information and weaves it into a brand new, coherent story for you. It's a totally different function. And of course, this tech is moving at lightning speed. The conversation is already shifting from chatbots to AI agents. These won't just answer your questions. They'll be able to take action, plan tasks, interact with your other apps, and actually help you get things done. It's a pretty big leap. What this really means is we have to shift our mindset. It's not about human versus machine. The future is all about human-AI teaming. The idea is to let the AI do what it's good at, sifting through massive amounts of data, so that we humans can focus on what we're good at: strategy, creativity, and making the final judgment call. So at the end of the day, as this AI becomes our new coworker, the question we need to ask is changing. It's not just what can this thing do anymore. The real question, the one we all need to start thinking about, is how are we going to work with it? How do we build a partnership that truly brings out the best in both of us? That's the big challenge, but it's also the incredible opportunity that's right in front of us.